The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
Hey, I'm Charlie. I really enjoy Ramsey County's Household Hazardous Waste program. They make it really accessible with their drop-off options, and they send out postcards every once in a while with helpful information. I drop off my household hazardous waste at the Bay West site. I like to let items in my home collect so I can bring a larger haul just a few times a year. I always tell people to check the website before they go. Chances are you haven't thought of all of the items that you can recycle, like batteries. When I recycle, I feel like I'm doing my part to minimize my carbon footprint, and it's easy and accessible to do so.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you are helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author and speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world, one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you a few encouraging words about what to do when you're considering cultural uncancellation. So, in my most recent podcast, I gave a response to an inquiry about how one would go about getting themselves uncanceled in the event that they found themselves to have been accused, rightfully or wrongfully, of a cultural offense, resulting in personal, organizational, or even societal cancellation, practically exile, including steps that they can take to give themselves the best chance possible to change their fate and essentially get themselves uncanceled. If you're interested in what could possibly accomplish that rare feat, I encourage you to go back and listen to that podcast message at the conclusion of this one. Today, however, I'd like to address the opposite side of this rare uncancellation challenge. More specifically, I'd like to speak to those who found themselves on the receiving end of a cultural offense, who contributed to the cancellation of that offender, and are now considering whether or not they will allow or support the uncanceling of that offending person or entity. Now, similar to the challenge of getting oneself uncanceled, I acknowledge that there is no one-size-fits-all set of rules, steps, or expectations. However, also similar to the challenge of getting oneself uncanceled, I find the challenge of whether to allow or support the uncanceling of someone who was the cause of a cultural offense to be similar to the challenge of whether to forgive someone who was unfaithful in an intimate relationship. You see, while admittedly not exactly the same, these situations are similar in that the behavior of one party communicated a hurtful message to another party. That message was so strong and hurtful that the hurt person believed that the only way to protect themselves from repeated future harm would be to exile that person from their life altogether. And in potential effort to protect others from similar harm, get that person exiled from all other influential roles that they might have. Now, if that hurtful person later comes back into their lives and asks for a second chance, on the surface, the request itself might seem outrageous, potentially even reopening the wound to cause more harm. However, based on lessons learned from having seen and supported many couples who have healthily reconnected after significant hurts without regret, I believe that there are a few things that can be considered when deciding whether or not to support or accept someone's efforts to get themselves uncanceled in your life. Consideration number one, uncanceling doesn't make their past behavior okay. What do I mean by this? Well, for many, the reason they work so hard to keep someone canceled is a belief that uncanceling someone means that the cancellation was a mistake on their part that needs to be corrected. For others, uncanceling means that the culturally offensive behavior was reconsidered and is now considered okay and no longer worth making a big deal over. Both of these conclusions essentially minimizes one's own feelings and the hurtful impact of the culturally offensive behavior. However, this need not be the case. Instead, another way to view cultural cancellation is an opportunity to acknowledge that following the legitimate need to respond appropriately to past hurtful behavior, it may be mutually beneficial to acknowledge proactive, authentic, and humble efforts to no longer repeat those hurtful, offensive behaviors in the future. While the past does indeed inform the present and the future, it doesn't always have to dictate future behavior. And if present consistent behaviors suggest that there is sufficient reason to believe that someone's future behaviors may be more beneficial than their hurtful past, it may be in your best interest to at least consider uncancellation to repair and strengthen a personal or professional relationship that is no longer the threat it legitimately once was. Consideration number two: uncanceling doesn't oblige you to an unguarded, trusting relationship together. If cultural cancellation is even being considered, know that to do so doesn't mean that you have to open up the floodgates of your heart and go from guarded distrust to complete unguarded trust immediately based on a good speech, a heartfelt apology, or some other grand gesture. That's not how trust works. In my years of helping married couples repair their relationship after significant hurts and damage to their ability to trust, that trust is built through consistent behavior over time. What that means practically is that as the offending person speaks and behaves in ways that outwardly reflect inward change, transitioning from, is this a fluke? And it's nice if you can keep it up, to, well, maybe this is the new you after all, slowly over time. Then, in return, slowly over time, trust can begin to be developed as well. Many people unfortunately consider trust to be something that you either have or you don't. However, feelings don't often work that way. Instead, it's possible to have a little trust, and a little more trust, and then a lot more trust. Not just over time, as if time itself does something. As I mentioned previously, the adage that time heals all wounds is false. Instead, what time does is provide an opportunity to do things that heal those wounds. In this particular case, words and actions that show genuine and lasting change from the culturally hurtful past to better future behavior can open a closed and welded door of trust, turning it into a cracked open door of trust. Consistent behavior over time will not only show that the change is real and can be trusted, but will also show a respect for the hurt person's feelings by not impatiently judging those feelings. If they are not showing themselves to be humble, accepting, and patient, then they may need to be the ongoing threat that you legitimately needed to remain canceled and exiled in your life in order for you to stay safe. However, if their words and behaviors show that new understanding has been achieved and they are committed to improved interactions moving forward, then I encourage you to at least consider unwelding that door and growing in trust slowly over time as their behavior warrants, no more and no faster than that. And finally, for today, consideration number three: uncanceling is not something you owe to anyone. In addition to the error of impatiently judging someone for not trusting more or sooner, some mistakenly hold the belief that if they jump through a certain number of hoops or make the right amount of big gestures, then they are owed acceptance. They are owed repaired relationships. They are owed trust. As I mentioned before, feelings don't work that way. You see, while we don't always choose how we feel about certain things, you alone have the right to decide whether or not you will allow yourself to be vulnerable again and trust someone who has hurt or offended you culturally in the past. A lot, a little, or at all. I strongly encourage you to resist anyone's effort to pressure you into trusting them before you're ready. The mere reality that they are pressuring you to trust them again is evidence that they are not fully ready to be trusted. In order to trust, you need to feel safe. Again, not necessarily all at once and once and for all, but gradually, over time, in your own time. Just as an example, just because I allow someone to trust them to enough to be in the same room as them can hopefully build enough to be a part of a good conversation. Doesn't mean that I trust them enough to invite them into my home or trust them enough to share vulnerable secrets. Allow yourself to rebuild trust over time as the situation warrants and reflects. No more, no sooner, no faster. Moving forward, my hope for you is that you will learn to resist the temptation to cancel easily, quickly, and instead only cancel when warranted. Not to retaliate by hurting someone who hurt you, but by removing someone from your life who has shown that they have no intention of avoiding the continuation of that hurt in your life. However, if you encounter someone who unexpectedly culturally offended you in some way, later then begin to take proactive steps to not only apologize and learn how they hurt you, but also commit to avoiding that similar hurt or moving forward with patience and humility, then I hope you would consider giving them a small chance to get uncanceled in your life, and more if it's within your ability and influence to contribute to. Only when it's safe to do so. Only at your own pace, gradually, over time. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening in to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you have any pressing diversity-related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame-free or empowering guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at www.diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know of anyone else who can benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Are you a woman known as a good listener? Do you have skills in de-escalating situations? Are you what they call a people person? Then the Minneapolis Police Department would like to meet you. Now in a rebuilding phase, the the Minneapolis Police Department is recruiting more women to wear the badge. The department offers career options for women with a high school diploma or GED. There are also opportunities for women with 2- and 4-year degrees who are ready to apply their skills in new ways. Police work makes a great second career for social workers, teachers, nurses. Women in their 30s and 40s are welcome to apply. There's no age cap. You'll be paid while you train and mentored by veteran women officers invested in your success. Minneapolis also welcomes current police officers to join the state's largest department. Make a difference on the streets, working in your community, in a career with competitive salaries and generous benefits. Go to minneapolismn.gov and search police jobs to find out more.
Are you getting older and feeling concerned about staying safely in your own home? Or maybe it's your folks you're worried about. I get it. It's not easy getting older, especially when the house is starting to show its age too. There is help available.
Individuals want to maintain and stay in their own homes for as long as they can. In Rebuilding Together Minnesota, we provide the opportunity, we provide the programs for them to do that.
Rebuilding Together Minnesota has been helping eligible older Minnesotans and those with disabilities stay safe and healthy for more than 20 years.
Our central AC unit was non-functional. We had plugged a portable unit into the living room. What ended up happening was our electrical outlet melted, and it was getting to be 90 degrees in here. Meyer was told about Rebuilding Together Minnesota by his daughter.
She said, well, Daddy, you need to sign up. I said, do I qualify? She said, well, you're a disabled veteran. You qualify.
So we provided a new air conditioning unit for the homeowner and also new electrical service, all through this veterans program that we have.
Thanks to Tom and Rebuilding Together Minnesota, we're able to maybe go out and get a hamburger every now and then.
To find out if you qualify, go to rtmn.org. That's RTMN for Rebuilding Together Minnesota. Or if it's easier, call 651-776-4273 and tell your friends. Trust me, this is news they can use.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.
All around Minnesota, you can find community vaccination events where you and your family can get the updated COVID-19 vaccine. The Minnesota Department of Health works in partnership with communities to provide safe and free on-site community 19 vaccines. These community events take place in familiar churches, community centers, clinics, and other spots that are close to home. Even if you were vaccinated in the past, you may still need the updated COVID-19 vaccine. The latest vaccine provides protection from newer variants circulating right now and continue to be very good at preventing severe illness, hospitalization, and death. To find a community vaccination event near you, call the Minnesota Department of Health COVID-19 Public Hotline. Call 1-833-431-2053 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Tuesday and Thursday between 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That number again is 1-833-431-2053.